70% of distributors haven't fully digitized invoice payments. And we see this as a massive opportunity for improvement. My name's Bill Rosato, account executive at Aldridge Web Solutions, and my co-host and webinar co-host, Corey Hayes,
Nice
is
to
with
be
us.
here.
How you doing, Corey?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I can't complain too much. I know it's cloudy outside, but hey, it's not raining, and Southern Illinois is not getting its weekly tornado, so I'm all right.
All right, so just a little bit of understanding what we plan to do today. We're going to cover why online invoice payments matter, right? Some of the common hurdles, what success looks like, and then we're going to go ahead and do a demo of our solution.
Yeah.
Again, questions and answers. There's a Q&A at the bottom. So if you have questions as we go through the presentation, please fill it out. Think about it. There's other people on here that probably have the same question. They just didn't happen to ask it or didn't think about it. So please go ahead and put questions in the Q&A section.
Okay.
You want to tell everybody a little bit who you are, Corey, and
Yeah,
why
yeah,
you're
yeah. Excited to be here. Thank you so much for to Bill and Nicole and team for putting this together. And thank you everybody for taking time out of your day and jumping on with us. As mentioned, I'm Corey Hayes. Been at Aldrich Web Solutions going on a little over 2 years now. And what's really been interesting about my time at Aldrich Web Solutions is I've been on both the implementation side, so customer onboarding, rolling out new projects, rolling out new solutions, and then now more on the solution side, the account executive, and being on this side of things, working with potential customers, potential clients. And so I kind of have been on both sides of the coin, particularly when it comes to our online invoice payments solution and module. It's obviously a very popular one that we do. And I've been on the implementation side of it. Now I've been on this side of it. We're working with, more of a consulting side, and really just excited to bring what I've learned, what I've seen in successful projects, what I've seen as hurdles through those projects, bring that to you guys and talk a little bit about that today. So super excited. Thanks for having us, Bill.
So same here. Just super excited to be able to share this and to see so many people respond, right, to come on and see and understand what online invoice payments is all about. So
Yeah.
let's kind of start with the why, right? Let's address maybe some of the challenges people have with invoice payments, uh,
Yeah.
like specifically maybe like the whole bottleneck with manual payments.
Yeah. Before we get there, I don't mean want
Oh,
to ruin your I don't want to ruin your flow here, Bill, but do want to, before we get into the conversation, want to invite everybody to continue the conversation. As Bill and I have our own podcast called Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. I think some of you are already in there listening. We drop an episode twice a month. So the first and the third Thursday of every month, we drop a new episode, and it's a really great resource and tool for everybody in this chat to use. We do talk about invoice payments. We actually, our most recent episode was about invoice payments, but we also have just a plethora of industry leaders and distributors just like yourself come on, talk about their experience as far as digital transformation, what they've learned works well, what they've learned causes hiccups. So good success stories, failure stories, just really a great resource for you to be able to use. So I invite you, scan this QR code. They will take you to our YouTube channel, but we're also found on Spotify. We're found on Apple Podcasts, and it's a really great resource for you. Yeah. Sorry, Bill, didn't mean to
that's
interrupt you
right.
there.
I, just a shameless plug, right?
Yeah, just a shameless plug, and a way for you to, yeah, be a part of the conversation. We have, a LinkedIn group that we're also a part of, and would love for you to be a part of that and get some feedback in there and just what you'd like to hear. So, thank you.
All right, so let's drive into the why.
Sure. Yeah. So navigating the hurdles when it comes to online invoice payments and what the key implementation challenges have been. So kind of going back to my previous experience as an implementation manager. So a few things that I've seen. So the manual payment bottleneck really got it. You have to understand the time drain and the costs that are associated with manually processing your invoice payments. If you think about it in terms of time, how much time does it take to fully process one invoice payment from the time that you're sending out the invoice payment to the time that the cash hits your bank and all the things that happen in between there? How much time does it actually take for all of those to take place? And if you associate, okay, let's say it takes a half an hour, and it's maybe longer, maybe I don't know, but let's say it just takes half an hour, and you're processing somewhere between 25, 30, 40 invoice payments a month. Now you're starting to really calculate how much time you're actually manually spending on invoice payments. There are automated solutions. And that kind of brings me to the next part out of the bottleneck is meeting modern customer expectations. It's absolutely no secret. And I don't think that it's a secret to you guys because you wouldn't be here if you weren't interested. But B2B buyers are expecting online payment convenience. And it's something that we've seen our customers when they give this option and this availability to their customers, the functionality to come online, view invoices, view their current statements, pay those, get them processed, get them automated, get them out of the way. It actually deepens the customer relationship. It actually provides another layer and another resource to that customer relationship. I get asked a lot. I'm worried that rolling out some automated process is going to worsen my relationship because it's actually a good touch point and a good way for me to continue to communicate with that customer. And we have case study after case study after case study that actually prove the opposite, where it actually deepens the relationship with that customer. And then also, last but not least, staying competitive. So digital payments are becoming a standard. Bill actually mentioned the statistic earlier that only about 30% of modern distributors have a digital way, a digital process of accepting invoice payments online. So yeah, there's 70% of you out there that this is a great opportunity. That statistic comes from Flywire. We'll actually mention Flywire here a few times. We referenced a particular article that they wrote. Flywire actually wrote that they expect in the next 5 to 8 years for that ratio to flip to where it's 70% actually in 5 to 7 years now have a digital process in place, have an automated process in place where customers can pay invoices online. So you're seeing a radical transformation and a radical shift. Don't be behind. Don't catch yourself where your competitors are offering something that you're not. Get out in front of it and allow your customers to pay invoices online. Anything you'd like to add there, Bill?
Well, so you're exactly right. So we see in the next few years there's going to be a huge change, right, Corey?
Mm-hmm.
People adopting this to give to their customers. And the funny thing was, I had a conversation the other day with a distributor, and they're talking about the things they expect of their manufacturer, and then in the conversation, just realized, well, that's the same things our customers are expecting of us, right? So if
Yeah.
we expect something from our manufacturers, why wouldn't we then think that our customers are expecting it from us? So key hurdles, right? There's going to be hurdles. So as we make this move from 30 to 70, what are some of the hurdles, some of the challenges that you might see people trying to jump into this online invoice payment?
Yeah. So some of the challenges I've seen and just ways to leverage technology for, competitive advantage. Some things that I've kind of seen on repeat is finding something that's just the ease of use. And really, when I think of that, I think of it both internally and externally, right? Something that's going to take stress off of your team, something that's going to be easy for your team to use, but then also obviously something that's easy for your customer to use, easy for your customer to understand, to navigate, to get something right up in front of their face, right in front of them. So you know, if it's not about your customer, if it's not about improving your customers' lives, you're probably going down the wrong rabbit hole, probably going down the wrong trail. It should always be, customer first. And I think that's why you guys are here is you want to enhance your customer experience with your business. So that's kind of first and foremost the certain challenges that they face is how can I improve that customer experience? A second thing that comes out, this is a little bit more on the technical side of it, but is just enhanced security, making sure that you have secure processes. We live in a day and age where, unfortunately, scammers, website scrapers, the bots are just out there and they're constantly working and they're constantly maneuvering and they're trying to get data. So having something that is robust but is secure, something that meets the features that you need but stays secure in through that process. That's another huge factor that's going to be a part of this process for any person that's looking to roll out, any distributor that's looking to roll out an invoice payment solution. Next, I would say the scalability for growth. So ensure that the solution can handle increasing transaction volumes. And handle it, but also it works for your pay structure. There's a few different ways that, people do it, whether it's certain percentage, whether they take a sum off the top of every payment that you do. There's some that do flat rate. So make sure that it's scalable for your team, for your business method, for what you're trying to do. And make sure that you can grow with that invoice payment solution because you don't always want to be changing solutions. You don't want to be changing processes. That's not pertinent for your customer. It's not going to be if you're always changing and your customer always has to adapt to pay their invoices, it might just make it more of a headache for them. A big one that I've seen and I've talked about on the implementation side is distributors wanting to accelerate cash flow. So the direct impact or the faster in payment, I guess I should say, that comes from quote to cash, from actual time that you make that invoice payment to when you get the money in the bank. How quick can you make that process? We want to have cash available. We want to have capital available. So we want to affect our bottom line immediately and as quick as we possibly can. And then the last one I would touch on is just payment flexibility. So you want a payment option, you want a invoice payment option that really adapts to like your processor, your gateway, that kind of ties in with the security piece of it, that you have a secure processor, payment processor and gateway in place, and that you are going to be able to tie those two pieces together. Because if your invoice payment solution can't directly attach to that payment processor, you really don't have an invoice payment solution. You kind of just have another skin, and another place for customers to go and see things, but not really affect the invoice side of things and the bottom dollar. So making sure that that integration is tight, making sure that your provider works well with your processor and gateway, and make sure that that process is as automated as possible and as secure as possible. Anything else that you'd like to add on it? That's a few that I've noted.
No, I mean, just not to reiterate, but right, that
Sure.
ERP integration probably is one thing that is so critical, right? So there are a lot of people out there that say they do what they do and that they can do what everybody else does. But you really got to pick somebody that understands who you are and understands your ERP deeply, right? So if you want to be successful, you got to find somebody that is successful in what you do and your ERP. And
Yeah.
then something to fall back on, that whole change management, right? Change
Yeah.
internally and externally, right?
Right.
Internally for your team because it's doing things a little different. Externally because for your customers things might be a little different. But
Yeah.
realize when we talk about adding and this digital transformation, adding invoice payments into your digital solution, not all your customers are going to adapt to it, right? So be realistic. This isn't going to be something that's going to cause people to go 100% digital, but you're going to see that transition too, right? As we talk about 30% are doing it now and 70, I think you're going to see the same thing with your customers. You're going to have early adopters, and then you're going to see people slowly transition to that and then give your internal team time back, right? What a success, what a benefit is the time that they're going to get back to be able to do the other things that they need to do and not be interrupted on something that could
Yeah.
easily be done 24/7.
Yeah. To give a really just practical example and analogy here, like online banking, when it first came around, there were a few banks that did it, kind of just certain players. And now it's almost like it's a necessity. You need to be able to deposit straight online. You need to have an app. And its distribution is following that same footstep, where people want to pay invoices online. And you are right. Change management is a big part of the issue. Is a big part of the issue. Just because this is saying, well, this is how we've always done it, isn't really a good reason to just stay exactly in that spot. I know that there's reliability, and I think that the important factor is maneuvering into a modern age while maintaining reliability. And you need a payment processor, you need an invoice payment solution that is just as reliable as your customers have come to expect your team to be. Because that's really how you have to view it, as another piece to the team, as another function that your team is thriving off of and working with. And if you view it that way and you take careful considerations into finding the right solution and you go through that process that way, you're setting yourself up for success. So yeah, it's just great points, Bill, and thanks for bringing that out. So
So
um,
on the slide that we're on currently,
sure.
just I mean, some things are really easy to say, right? Quote to cash, you understand that, right? From the moment that someone quotes something to you ship it out and you send an invoice and then you get cash in the bank, right? That's really simple what we're talking about.
Hmm.
Integration, right? We talked about that as far as deeply. Some things that maybe might be a little confusing, right? Anonymous payments,
Hmm.
uh, being able to allow a customer to not to have to log in, right? That they can directly from an email go ahead and pay their invoice anonymously, right? We do that internally, right, or externally here at home. I don't log in to pay my Ameren bill, right? My electricity bill. I just
Yeah.
go ahead and click and pay it. So that is something that customers that you have expectations somewhere else, so they're going to have the same expectation for you. And then, do you kind of want to explain done
Yeah.
emails a little
So
bit?
they work hand in hand. So actually how kind of the process that we accept those anonymous payments works with our dunning email. So when you see dunning, think of just automated. That's really kind of what that word means. It's an automated process, meaning you're going to be sending dunning emails, automated emails containing invoice, due dates, pay tabs, that kind of thing, particular, and it's broken up by customer code. You're not just sending it out to the ether hoping it finds who it needs to find. But you're using your ERP, the data in your ERP, to directly pinpoint who that email needs to go to, who needs to receive it, who's making payments for it, and then that email is dropping straight into the inbox of that particular customer that you have. So it's a really good way and really easy tool to use to get straight into the back pocket and just say, hey, here's the pay tab. Click that. You don't even have to log in. Make that anonymous payment. Let's get it done. And the beauty of it is it's an automated process. You set it up one time, you run it, and then you never have to touch it again. And you know that's a really great thing to have in your tool belt for sure. So I think we've talked about it quite a bit. I would love to get to where we show it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what we've been talking for a little while, and I'm pretty sure everybody on the other side of the screen's thinking, when are you going to show it to me? Right. So, Corey, go ahead and unveil it. Let them
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
it is. And I want to set something up here. So,
sure,
there, the solution we have is twofold. One is if you have e-commerce with us, it's a solution that's easily added to your e-commerce.
correct.
The other is a standalone. So if you're not ready for e-commerce, right, we have a solution. So we're kind of going to walk through both, but it's the same to a certain degree.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and just like Bill mentioned, e-commerce, and I actually have two tabs open. So I have my e-commerce open, and then I have my standalone customer service portal. So yes, it's 100%. What are you looking to roll out? You know, where are you wanting to start? The customer service portal doesn't have the e-commerce functionality in it, but for some customers and for a lot of our customers currently, that's okay, and that's perfectly fine. So a few different ways that you can roll it out there. But yeah, just to jump in and show, so it's going to populate to the account tools, pay invoices online. And then again, I'm logged in to this particular customer code. So all of this is behind a specific login. So making sure that it's nice and secure, that that information is not out there just existing. But once I am logged in, I can see all of the open invoices that are particular to my customer code. And I get asked a lot of different questions when I show this. So kind of maybe getting out in front of some questions. A lot of people ask, is this just online payments? You know, especially if they're e-commerce, is this just online orders? Is this invoices just for online payments? It is not. It is anything that exists in your ERP, any invoice that is in your ERP. That's where we're pulling that data from. So you can see I have my master list laid out with all of the invoices that I have. It gives me just some real high level information at the top: PO, date, due date, past due, invoice amount, if anything's open. From here, I can select multiple invoices and do like a batch pay. I can select all of them if I want to, but I can just select just a few and then go through this payment summary. Your customer, you don't, there's some of this that's customizable. You don't necessarily have to allow your customer all of this functionality, but it does exist. You can allow your customer to make partial payments if you want to. That's kind of the customizability that I was talking about there. You don't have to give them that functionality, but I can grab those invoices, continue into my pay tab, use a credit card or a ACH e-check. Your customer can save those credentials, those credit card credentials or e-check. Again, another question I get asked, you know, how is that PCI compliant? Is that safe to keep those credentials on the website? The easy answer is we don't save them on the website. So this is where the payment processor and a secure payment processor really comes into play, because we are just tokenizing that payment, and at real time we're creating a security token, and then we're going to the processor, going to your gateway, and grabbing those credentials, grabbing those credit card and bank account information to make the payment at the time that they use it. But they can put a credit card, e-check, drop those in, have a little bit of flexibility there, and they can submit that payment. Another way that I can do it, if I don't necessarily want to pay them at a high level
Hey,
and
we
do it.
got a real quick question,
Oh, sure.
and we might as well just jump in. Someone asked if they could actually see the details of the invoice before they pay it.
Yeah. So that's perfect. One step ahead of me. So if you didn't want to do it from the high level batch pay, you have the link to pull up the invoice details. And this is where you could see all of those details. So you could see what the items are, the descriptions for those items, what's been shipped, what's been ordered, if there's any that's remaining, unit of measures, unit price, extension price. Then you get all of the information specific to this particular invoice and even a tracking link. So if they want to track that particular order that's attached to that invoice, they could do that as well. Could see their terms and get all of their invoice detail from here. And a nice little, if you're on the e-commerce side of things, a nice little B2B feature is you can actually take the invoice detail and you could drop that into a cart and you could reorder it. So if you have a lot of recurring customers that have very similar invoices month to month, quarter to quarter, they can use that invoice and drop it into another cart. From here, from the invoice detail, they can print the invoice, they can send the invoice off, email it out, or they can go to that exact same pay tab that is particular to this invoice. So in the last pay tab I showed you, I had multiple open. This is just this particular invoice. I can do the same thing, credit card, e-check, use the save payment, break it into a partial payment if I want to, can maneuver it that way, and then send it off and pay it that way as well. So yeah, I think that covers that question. Any other questions so far?
Well, I seen the question and
No,
I
that's great.
said we'd wait till the end, but I thought we're here, right? You can
Yeah.
go ahead and answer that question pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
awesome.
All right. Perfect. And then we talked a little bit about the dunning. So there's kind of a two sides to this. So that's the customer facing side from a 30,000 foot overview. But then from your internal team, you have access to the admin, right? And then this is where you go and you set up the email dunning that we talked a little bit about and get some reporting tools on the back end. So if I go to my site manager, automated emails, pop up, automated emails. I used a Midwestern term right there, Bill. Did you hear that? Oop. Go to my invoice dunning, edit that. As you can see, pull up here, you could select a time window that the dunning emails will send from. Usually by default, it starts from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you wanted to send your invoice dunning emails at 2 a.m., I guess that's your prerogative, but your customers may not like that. So the windows 10 to 5, you get up to 6 emails, a part of your email series. You can select what days you want them to send on, whether they're before the due date, they're past the due date, they're on the due date. If you put 0 in here, it's actually going to send the email at the moment it's created. So you have a lot of flexibility and maneuverability to send when you want those emails to go out. And then you could actually toggle them on or off. If you want to use all 6, you can, but if you don't want to use all 6, that's fine too. And then you can preview that. Of course, it would be branding specific. We use our customers' logos attached to that email so that your customer knows exactly who they're getting it from. And then this is really what you were talking about, Bill, a process, a pay invoice where they can make anonymous payments. They don't ever have to log in. But of course, ideally, we would want them to log in. Hey, you can go get your statements, go get your information. You can place orders online. If you just go here, create an account, all the information is right at your fingertips. And what we've seen is through the invoice dunning feature, this is a really good way to drive customer adoption. So that's always maybe number one question that I got on the implementation side of things is how can we drive our customers to use the website more? Even though this is an invoice payments module, there are adoption tools in here that can really break out into bigger adoption rates for your e-commerce website and e-commerce platform, and you can drive business that way. Another question we get asked is, what if there's a customer that doesn't want invoice dunning, if they don't want all invoices coming in from their email 24/7, that kind of thing? There is an exclude. So it's really simple. You can just drop a customer code in here. You can add as many as you'd like. We don't really stop you from that. And you could drop those excludes by customer code in there, and they would not receive the dunning emails. And then just reporting history. Of course, I don't have any sent through here, but this is going to keep all of the history that you get sent it that the dunning sends out. You can filter by invoice. So it's a really good way to see what's getting sent out, who's getting it, who's receiving it. Another question I get asked a lot is from the invoice payment side of things. Can we put a processing fee? If a customer uses a credit card, can we charge a 3% processing fee? The easy answer is yes, you can. We have a fee manager that really allows you to manipulate that fee to whatever you would want it to be, whether it's a percent, whether it's a flat rate, whether it's just on credit cards, not on e-checks. You have triggers that you can really set that up to how you want it to be. So a really simple demo, but a really effective tool that allows your customers to maneuver their invoice payments, see their invoice payments, get those details that they need, and make the payments that you want. So, anything else that you'd like to add to that, Bill?
No, I think that's a great overview. Um,
Sure.
one thing, could you kind of just look at the portal and kind of show the comparison between the My
Sure.
Account page on e-commerce and then portal?
Yeah. So to back up just a little bit, it's really simple. So on the e-commerce side of things, I selected my particular account up here, and then I get my customer profile that pulls all of the ERP information. So my web orders, my company quotes, scheduled orders, frequently purchased. That's what it looks like on the e-commerce side. What the portal, now I just switched over to portal. The portal has all of that information, the my account page that exists on the e-commerce, where I can see that those company orders, those company quotes, I can track an order. This is really the look and feel is very similar to the my account page on e-commerce. Where they're different is the e-commerce side of things has the marketing side, the ordering side. So I can do featured products. The customer portal, the standalone customer portal, is really just that. It's a portal where a customer can go and get the information they need and then pull up the invoices. Really, the invoice experience that your customers are going to get, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's customer portal, the invoice payments module experience is really one for one. It's identical. It isn't almost identical. It is identical, and you still have the dunning access. You still have the fee manager access. The invoice payments module would be the same. Okay.
Great overview. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll jump back here. Okay. And again, kind of going through our Flywire statistics, time is money. According to Flywire, 32% of businesses spend 11 or more hours per month managing incoming B2B payments. I would venture to say that a lot of you are on that more side, in that more category. 11 hours might seem like not so much to you. Maybe not. But I would just ask you, as you see the statistic and as you just seen the demo, I'd ask you to really consider what could you or your team do with more time? What could you accomplish with more time? What could you give focus to if you had more time? Maybe it's other areas to grow revenue in different departments or in different ways. Maybe it's spending time with the customers who really need it. So I'm sure your customer loves calling Susie every week and asking for updates on their statements and asking for updates on their invoices. But if Susie didn't have to spend that time just finding information that could be right at that customer's fingertips, what more could she be doing, and what more could she be prioritizing, and what customers could she be spending time with who really, really need it and have something major going on and don't just need little pieces of information. And then again, this could you grow in relationship? How could you grow in relationship with your customers and with your vendors? What could you do if you had more time available to you? And then last, Bill, I'm pulling you in on this one because they may be sick of hearing me talk so much. But what are some smart choices, some key considerations? While these distributors and for their teams, they're considering rolling out an invoice payment solution. What are some things that they should really consider in that process?
Well, I don't want to keep drilling into it, but it's that deep integration, right? The ERP integration is paramount, for efficiency and for accuracy. So our solution is deeply integrated. We're not having you push or pull things. It's doing it automatically. It's a live call, right? And pulls up all their open invoices from the ERP. Um, Other thing to consider is there are plenty of similar solutions that we have that
Mhm.
doesn't give you the capability to allow your customers to see the details of the invoices and print invoices and that type of stuff. But also, you need flexibility because some of them are locking you down to what gateway and processor is important to them because they're getting something on the back end of it, right? So you don't have flexibility. So depending on what ERP, there's probably a gateway or processor you're using. More than likely, we're able to use that gateway and processor, whereas some of the other solutions are locking you down to their gateway and processor because they're making a nickel or a dime or a quarter on every transaction that you have.
Yeah.
We have a flat rate, right? It is what it is to set it up. It is what it is for monthly. And then think about a solution that gives a benefit to the customer more than just the invoice payments, right? All the other tools, the dunning, all that capability. I think that's really important when you're considering the right solution for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last but not least, right before we move in our Q&A, we have some really good questions in the chat that I'm going over. Want to make sure that we get to those. But we do have a plethora of clients that are currently using our invoice payment solution. This is literally just to name a few across a few different ERPs. If the time is right and we get to a place in the conversation, every single one of these have been great references for us, especially on e-commerce, but on invoice payment solution, and have had a lot of success with that. They could process them anytime, anywhere. And what employee could you hire to process invoice payments 24/7, 365? Never going to take a sick day, never going to take a holiday off, never going to go to sleep. What kind of employee could you get to do that? So yeah, these customers of ours have been great, and would love to get you connected with them.